Hello, dears. Oh, it's so good to be with you again. It's gonna get interesting. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Or maybe smooth, or maybe both. I'm gonna do a little preamble before I head over to that whiteboard wall, and we'll get technical. We're gonna get technical right here. So, have you seen the film Arrival? This is a book about the making of it. It's a film by Denis Villeneuve, screenplay by Eric Heiserer, based on a short story, wonderful short story by Ted Chiang. I highly, highly, highly recommend watching the film at least twice. Seen it 5 times. Read the screenplay. Read the short story. They're all incredible, and it's an amazing deep dive. If you haven't seen them yet, you could pause and just check in with whether you feel called to watch the film first, because there will be some spoilers in this. You don't need to have watched the film for this to make sense, if it's going to. But it might make more sense or different sense if you do feel called to do that little deep dive first. So I'm going to proceed, though there will be spoilers, not so much into the plot. I'm not going to talk about the film. I'm just going to talk about a very central concept that's depicted here in that image. Because it's about nonlinear communication and about, spoiler, nonlinear time. So I'm going to let you pause. I'm going to go to that whiteboard, and I'll see you over there. Welcome to the classroom. That's the whole world is our classroom, isn't it? So if you've been following my videos, even if you haven't, I'm really fascinated by communication, by time, by language itself, and by how different people and beings experience reality, and how we talk about that. Small potatoes, if you will. So what I loved about Arrival, it felt so true to me and so right on. It's not that I believe that the heptapods really came to Earth and gave this literal language, but what I love is in the way that they construct a kind of a sentence, which is called nonlinear orthography. When it's done in a circle, it's obviously nonlinear, it's a circle. But I don't really speak, in the movie it's sort of like, this one is human, and this one is Louise, and this one is weapon, which is great. But when I started playing around with this, like, what if I just used English, since I do speak English, and played around with what would it mean? Is it actually just a line but put in a circle and it only makes sense in one direction, or would it make sense in multiple directions? So this is what I played with. And this, I'm not proposing that we change the way that we talk and now speak only in written circles. But it is a very helpful meditative, contemplative practice. It's been really expanding my relationship to different circumstances and events and people, and I'll show you how. So if I write, for example, Amy video, and you have to write in infinitive form, so you don't attach a causality, or you don't attach certain things belonging to only certain people or beings. But I'll show you. So Amy video connect you whole world. I'm just kind of feeling that in a moment. So if we look at this, this can mean Amy's video connects you with the whole world. It might also mean you are whole. And the world, as Amy sees it in this video, is connected. It can also mean Amy's world is you. And connects us wholly in this video. It can mean this video is whole and connects Amy with the world and you. It can mean you are whole and connected with the world through this video and Amy. Starting to see how this works. It can mean your video, which this also is, connects the world in wholeness with Amy. So what I love is you can start anywhere and it will make sense. It might make a different sense, but it will make also sense. You can start anywhere and go in a different order. And it makes, and as we do this, it builds what I experience as a holographic meaning. It's not a linear meaning and it's not a causality. Because the more I do this, the more I really work it, and we'll do some more. Suddenly, this isn't my video. The field of Amy, the field of this video, the field of what it is to connect, the field of you, the field of wholeness, the field of the whole world. These sovereign fields are connected in this constellation. It even looks kind of like a star when you start, connecting together all the different ways that you can do it. So all those, so I was saying the sovereign fields here become a constellation through which all of these elements are a part. And there's spaciousness around that. It's less about blame. It's less about this person did this to this person, or this thing caused that feeling. I'll show you, we'll get into some more. But it becomes more and more that all of those viewpoints co-create a unified then field within those fields, from which, within which we exist. And these are the relationships that we're paying attention to in this moment. I'll do another video on nonlinear time, but this is gonna, so a torus field, in case you're not familiar, is basically like, this is a 2D version of it, but you can also, do it as a spiral in this way, where the black hole is what brings the energy in, the white hole is what brings the energy out, as we call them, and then it ends up looking like, an apple or a brain, the hemispheres of a brain, because all of the different, it will look more like a sphere, but it'll have that, that will be the energy channel running through. I don't know if you can see it with the reflection of the light. Sorry, I'll probably find a way to do a better lighting setup at some point. So when you think of it, when you imagine that this is actually a torus field, and that these individual fields are within that, then the world, the field of where these parts are connecting right now through this video. You with me? You can imagine that in this shape. I'm not saying it is that shape. You can also imagine it in any other shape. It's just a helpful shape. It's a shape we find everywhere in nature. We find it in the hemispheres of our brain. We find it in all of our energy centers. You know, the heart field, our whole body's biofield, the earth with its two poles. You know, you find these shapes everywhere. Apples, you cut them in half in the horizontal, and you'll find a shape very similar to this. You'll find a star in there, and you'll see that it's a torus field as well. So, so let's do another one. Let's do another one. And what's really fun is if there's something that you're pondering, try and just let those words flow. And it tends to create enough space for itself, I find, at least when I do it. So if you find yourself that you've made a fairly tight circle, maybe it only has 5 words. And if you find that you've got quite a big arc, maybe there will be more, and then you'll sit there for 20 minutes just pondering the many permutations of this. Okay, so let's do this is one I was using to explain it to somebody else the other day. What was it? Ingerman. Okay, so the words are she, anger, man, fear, hurt, judgment. Oh, that's really in the way, isn't it? Let me see if I can change that. There we go. Okay, so this could mean she's angry at the man and afraid because he hurt her with his judgment. That might have been how you're writing this out. You know, maybe I'm angry at a man who hurt me. Because I'm angry at a man and afraid of him because he hurt me with his judgment. It could also mean she angered the man out of fear that she would be hurt by his judgment. It could also mean the man is afraid to hurt her because he thinks she's judging him, and because she's angry. All those things can be happening at once. It could also mean the man is angry at her because he thinks she's judging her, but she's just hurt and afraid. It could mean she fears being hurt because the man is angry and she judges him for being angry. It could mean fear hurts, so we judge. So she judges the man and is angry. It can be anger is judgment, and fear and hurt. And she and the man are a part of this constellation. It can mean the man hurt she out of judgment and fear. It can mean, see what's happening? It can be anger is hurt when she fears the man is judging her. or when she judges the man out of fear. So the more I find that the more I do this, the more the story opens up. And it's less who did what to whom. And it's more here we all are together in this constellation where there are these kinds of feelings and these two people. And just knowing, just being in that expanded view, it doesn't mean that none of those other permutations are true. It doesn't mean there's nothing to do about it. There might be something very important to do about it. Somebody might need to stand up and speak some truth to somebody. Or somebody might have gotten some old feelings triggered that actually don't have anything to do with the act, that the other person is not aware of. I have certainly reacted in fear and hurt and judgment, or reacted in fear and hurt when I thought somebody was judging me and that was not what their reality was. But because I'm thinking that or projecting that, we're in this little constellation where those are the feelings at play. And so as an exercise, when I ponder this and I build out the permutations of that, I have some space around those feelings. I no longer then, it's no longer the only way that things are and I have to be right. I can have some spaciousness and some compassion around it so that I can maybe metabolize some feelings and realize, hey, the other person might also be afraid and angry and hurt. They might be reacting out of something that somebody else did to them, or that they think I'm doing to them, or that they're experiencing from me right now. And so from that place of more compassion, from that perspective of, okay, there isn't only one way to see this right now, I can then get really still in my body and get a clearer message of what is my point to do now. There might be some action that's really important to take, but I'll be taking it not out of reactivity then. I'll be taking that action out of responsibility, a shared responsibility of responsiveness, of standing up in the wholeness that there are many truths and many perspectives happening right now, and that all I can do is speak mine when it needs to be spoken. Sometimes it doesn't, Sometimes it was just my own little thing and I needed to metabolize that because it was old and needed to be, metabolized and turned into something more beneficial for me. But sometimes there really is something to say or to do or both. And, do it. But then I can do it from a really different state of being than if I'm in a reactive state. Now, sometimes we don't have time to do this before we need to step up or stand up or something, and that's fine. Whatever actions you need to take in that moment, you take in that moment. We always do the best we can. Then you can still come back to this. When you have that time and space to process all that has happened. Sometimes a lot happens in a very short period of time, and it can be really helpful to still do this process and gain a greater perspective for that so that it can move through. Because I do believe that ultimately everyone is doing their best, even if their view is very askew and even if there's harm. So I don't, you don't need to agree with me on philosophy, but I do believe that at the core, everyone's just doing the best with what they have, which is not to condone things that need to be stopped at all. But there's a difference between standing up and calling out without blame and judgment, just calling that. And that feels very different than creating a fight. So whenever possible, I find that it's more beneficial when I speak that truth from a place of clarity and non-judgment, of just seeing this is what's happening here and it needs to stop. So I hope that's helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share, practices, ideas that you have in the comments. I'd love to hear too, if you do this practice, what's it like for you? I may come back to it in future times. It's fairly new for me. It just came in the last couple of days. So I've done quite a bit of it. I really recommend trying a lot of different ways. See what it's like when I'm writing on paper. I can write upside down as well. And that's really fun. You can just turn it all around, or are there other formats that work for you? What's coming through from this for you, if you feel called? And as always, if it's not your jam, move on, and with respect and much love. So take care. Vibes to you. We are connected in so many ways.